Hello everyone. Some of you emailed me to go over some examples from the textbook, and I'm going to do that now. These questions aren't really any different from the ones I did with you in the other video, but they just might be kind of stated a little bit differently. So here's one of the questions. I think this is exercise 41-1A, I think it is. Oops, battery's running low. Okay, so this is how to do it. First of all, notice that both equations have been rearranged to get the y on its own. So it's only the y that you need to replace. So here, for example, the y is equal to x plus 4. So where you see a y in the first equation, you just replace that y. So let me get a highlighter, sorry, give me a highlighter. So you replace that y with x plus 4 because this y is equal to it. So all you need to write is literally wherever there appears to be the letter y, replace it with x plus 4 in the first equation. So you get x plus 4, then it's an equal sign, equals x squared minus 2x. Now, if you remember how to solve quadratic equations by hand, by factorizing, you need to make sure that one side of the equation equals 0. Now, it doesn't matter which side equals 0, but what I try and do is I try and keep the x squared term positive if I can. And where it currently is, it's positive. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these two things here, and we're going to get 0 on this side of the equation. So in order to do that, we're going to subtract an x from both sides and a 4 from both sides. So we'll take an x and a 4 off both sides of the equation. So when we take away those two things, we get 0 here, and that equals x squared. But we've got a minus 2x, take away one more x, that's minus 3x, and the minus 4 gets stuck on the end because there's no number here at all. Right, so we've got our quadratic equation, which now equals 0. So what we need to do is factorize this into double brackets. Now remember, this is a monic. So remember the different types of quadratic equations that you can get. This is a monic because it has one x squared term. So we know that both brackets are going to start with an x. Whoops. So they're both going to start with an x. And we need to find two numbers that multiply to the n number, which is minus 4. And the same two numbers add to the middle number, which is minus 3. Okay, so remember how you do quadratics. You've got to find numbers that multiply to the end and add to the middle. So on a monic, so the two numbers are, well, they're going to be minus 4 times 1. And minus 4 add 1 makes minus 3. So the two numbers are minus 4 and 1. That means one bracket is x minus 4 and the other one is x plus 1. Now, if you don't remember this, please go back and find the video on quadratics because you need to use them when you solve these ones. So you've got to go back and watch that video. Okay, so now we've got the two double brackets that make this expression. So now we need to solve the quadratic equation now. Okay, so remember when you're at this stage, you need to look at each bracket and think about what value of x makes that bracket equal to 0. So the first one is 4, because 4 take away 4 is 0. So x equals 4 is another one answer. And then we need to look at, don't forget the comma, we need to look at the other bracket. What value of x makes that bracket equal to 0? Well, it's minus 1. So minus 1 is the other answer. But remember, we need to find y for these corresponding values. So we go back to one of these equations, and this one's probably the easiest one. It tells us that y equals whatever x is, add 4. So in this case, x is 4, so the corresponding y value would be 8, because it would be 4 add 4. And this one would be minus 1 add 4, which is 3. So they're your two sets of values. So this is one value, and this is the other one. Whoops, sorry for the crazy brackets, but really you should write them in order. X equals 4, comma, y equals 8, and x equals minus 1, comma, y equals 3. So this is the way it really should be written, or above each other. But they're the two values for this equation. Okay, so here's another one. It's a little bit harder than the previous one. So what you could do is you could pause the video now and see if you can do it on your own. And then unpause the video, see if you get it right. Okay, so pause the video now. Okay, guys, so this is the answer. So first of all, I hope you replace that y there with 2x squared because that's what y equals. So you'll get this equation here. Then you need to minus 9x and add 4 to both sides of the equation to get 0 on the right hand side, trying to keep the x squared term positive. Okay, now this is the tricky bit. You need to factorize this. Now this is a non-monic. Now again, if you can't remember how to factorize non-monic, go back and watch the video from earlier on this. But this is a non-monic, and then this is the double bracket. Now I always double check. So here's my checking here. So what I do is the double bracket, I just check to see if it expands back to the question, which it does. So here's me just in the margin double checking that this thing, the two double brackets, expand to this line here, and here you go. Can you see that it does work? Okay, so these are the two answers that you first of all get. You get x equals a half and x equals 4, and the corresponding y values turns out to be y is a half and y is 32. So these are the two answers. So a half and 4 and 32. And remember, it's always a good idea to double check that they work in this. So just kind of make sure it does. But it certainly does work, and you should get it working as well. Right, okay, so I hope that kind of clarifies those ones there. They're no different really from the ones I went through on the video. They're just written in a slightly different way. So just remember, you've got to get one of the letters on its own. So here conveniently the y is already on its own, and then in whichever equation, you just plug it in here. So you just replace the y with that expression. Now, by the way, sorry, I could have done it the other way around. Because the y is on its own, I could have written the y there, but you still get this equation here. So it still works out to be the same. You just got to replace the y in one equation with the y in the other ones, if that kind of makes sense. It's it's kind of hard to explain, isn't it, really? But just to reiterate, you rearrange one of the equations with the y on its own, and then you replace the y in the first equation with whatever you find. But here, conveniently, they've already been rearranged. Okay, so I hope that kind of clarifies that particular problem there. Okay, thank you very much. If you're still not sure, I'll try and work through some other examples. But the best thing to do is probably just email me the question you're stuck on, and what I can do is I can just make a video on that. Okay, thank you very much, guys.